Welcome to Leading Edge. Now, in the last 5 sessions, we have been dealing with the all-important issue of transformation. We've covered so many things around it and also provided some guidance as to how you can make your transformation journey work. And I do hope you've started your journey, and I do hope you're making progress already. Today, I start a new series, and I'm going to be dealing with the all-important issue of trust. Now, I think this issue of trust, particularly in the times we are in, becomes very, very critical. Okay? Now, I'm going to be dealing the next few sessions on what I've called building trust in a time of uncertainty. And in today's session, I'll be dealing with the issue of what I've called the 3 areas of trust. Now, let's start this way. Apart from exceptional stress, anxiety is a major cause of burnout for so many people. And believe me in this, times of uncertainty such as we have it today can so easily trigger uncertainty. In a word, uncertainty triggers anxiety. Harvard Business Review did a study on stress at work, uncovering key factors troubling workers at this time. Now, some of the factors that they identified were, number 1, economic uncertainty, and this is quite understandable. We know how economies have begun to fail all around us. Global GDP is projected to drop by about 5.2%, according to World Bank estimates for 2020. And of course, there are issues of job cuts and various kinds of uncertainties all over the place, so understandable. The second thing they identified was high unemployment. Just take the instance of Nigeria. The National Bureau of Statistics has put on record that unemployment has hit about 23% in Nigeria, with underemployment at 21%. That's a whooping 43% for unemployment and underemployment. And of course, we see the ever-looming prospects of job losses all over the place. Now, the third thing they identified was surging cases of COVID-19, particularly in the South and West. You know, as of today, cases have risen to above 80 million globally and still rising. And finally, they identified ambiguity surrounding reopening of offices. All of this put together are putting a lot of people into a state of anxiety as they try to grapple how they fit into all of this and what happens to them. In an ever-deepening world of ambiguity and uncertainties, fears and doubts fester quite easily. Okay? Uncertainty breeds fear, doubt, and sometimes cynicism. Now, these 3 things I've mentioned, I consider them raw materials for distrust. It leads to a point where you are unable to trust anything and anyone. You do not really know what and who to trust. You do not know if the communication coming from your management team or the employer is the whole picture. You'll be asking yourself, could they be hiding something? Is there any planned rationalization? How long more is the organization able to hold up? Now, the absence of trust creates disconnection and impedes progress. Listen to this. In the seminal work by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he clearly demonstrates that trust is the glue of life. Take note of that. Trust is the glue of life. That is the primary thing that connects us one to the other. Indeed, trust is the bridge that connects people and enables the synergy that delivers institutional and personal success. Listen, despite all the taunted digital transformation sweeping through our world, and especially in business operations, the truth remains that human beings have an emotional need to connect. Trust, therefore, is a foundation for such connections to happen. Especially in times of uncertainty, people want to be sure that they can still trust their organization and their leaders, their managers. They want to be sure that things are under control. Leaders should therefore be diligent in displaying trust-building behaviors in their interpersonal relationships, especially in difficult and uncertain times. In a world, therefore, with huge trust deficit, what can leaders do to pick up the pieces and build back a culture of trust? That is what we shall be considering. Now, the leader's ability to influence others, which is a fundamental task for the leader, begins with people's willingness to be influenced by you. And their willingness begins with their trust in you as a leader, their confidence that you will do the right thing. So let's examine the 3 areas that leaders must build trust with their people. Call it 3 types of trust or 3 areas of trust, if you will. Now, let's start with number 1. Number 1 is institutional trust. Now, one Gallup study showed that 13% of employees are actively engaged, while 53% are not engaged at all. This leaves the engaged population at a mere 34%, and that means only 3 out of 10 people in the workplace are engaged. That's a troubling number, right? Now, why is this so? People spend a significant amount of time at work. So for work to really work, people must find purpose and meaning in it. Now, when people don't find purpose and value in their roles, it's almost impossible to connect with them. A disconnected person does not feel they belong and will not trust that the organization cares about them. Now, great leaders must therefore make their people feel that they can be a part of a solution and that their voices will be heard. Some critical engagement metrics include whether people feel their opinions count, if they believe the organization cares about them, if they believe that when the organization makes a promise, it keeps it. When they don't feel so, they typically retreat or leave. Now, institutional trust is the trust people have in the company itself. It is built around people's confidence that the company's policies, procedures are well designed, consistent, and fair, and that the company does what it says it will do. To make this happen is the work of leadership. All right? So, the first thing is institutional trust. Do your employees, do your people believe in the institution itself? That is question number 1. Now we move to personal trust. So apart from institutional trust, there is also personal trust. Now this is the trust employees have in their leaders, in their managers. Now I will cite again another Gallup poll, which showed that over 75% of employees who voluntarily quit their jobs do not leave their companies. They leave their managers or bosses. Essentially, they don't feel valued by the people who are leading them. So that's why we say people don't leave companies, people leave people. Let me suggest 3 components of personal trust. Call it the trinity of trust, if you will. Now, the first one is care. The question becomes, do managers treat their employees fairly? Do they consider the needs of the employees when making decisions about the business? Do they put the company's needs ahead of their own? Your people want to feel that they matter and you actually care about them as people. Only then can they reciprocate with their trust. Now, so that is 1, care. Number 2 is competence. Now, let's take note of this. Trust is contextual. I'll say that again. Trust is contextual. What your people expect of you will depend on the role, on the circumstances, and the setting. Your people will place more confidence in you when they believe you are proficient in your area of responsibility. So, as a leader, therefore, you need to know not just what to do and how to do it, but also how to get it done in the specific organization and context under which you work. There are 3 elements of competence that leaders need: technical knowledge, operational knowledge, and a third one, political knowledge. However, your leadership competency is not measured merely by your technical skills, but by your ability to understand and influence people. Now hear this. You must therefore demonstrate the capacity and ability to manage projects, make decisions, and get things done generally. Now, on the contrary, if your direct reports see incompetence, they will not trust or respect your ability to lead them. You need to be competent, but not pretentious about your weaknesses. And there to put that balance. Demonstrate transparency, demonstrate vulnerability to your team by being open and honest in your communications and sharing the why and how behind your decisions. This enhances trust. Now, the last point in personal trust is character. This is the third component, right? And it refers to what and who your people see when they look at you. I tell that again. Who and what do your people see when they look at you? The leader should have standards, ethics, values, convictions to do the thing they do, even when it is not popular or easy. Your people want to see if you do what you say you will do. That's character. Doing what you say you will do. When you act with honesty, listen, you lay a foundation for your people to trust you. Character will also demand your willingness to support others to grow and advance. Now, this is what confers influence on you among your employees. It also demonstrates your belief and trust in their own abilities and expertise. It enhances mutual trust. The rule is simple. Leaders who show loyalty to their team will get it back in return through productivity and trust. Yeah. So we have covered institutional trust. We have also covered personal trust. I go to the last one. The last one is leadership trust. Now, this is the trust employees have in the leadership team to make the right strategic decisions. Now, especially in times of uncertainty such as we have, the question will be, does the leadership team have the foresight and capability to set the organization on the right course? Right. Do they have the ability to perceptively assign assets, fulfill the mission, and help the company to succeed? Now listen, to earn the trust of the people at such times, leaders need to come through as knowledgeable, as human, as confident, and as strong. When the leaders are seen as indecisive, unsure, unclear, the trust deficit only widens. A time of uncertainty, therefore, is a time for visionary and resilient leaders to arise and inspire hope and believability. Okay. So, the future holds many more uncertainties. But every small step taken now to build trust with your people will be rewarded with higher productivity now that it is needed most. Note these three areas of trust that we've gone through and pay attention to them. Institutional trust. How far do your people trust the organization? Personal trust. How much confidence do they have in you as a person? Leadership trust. How much do they trust the leadership team in their capability? Now, these are the three areas you need to be mindful of and work on as you embark on the journey of building trust in these very uncertain times. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this. Let me request you, if you have not already started following us or subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all our various social media platforms. And if you want to be a member of Joshua Leadership Project, do go to our website, www.joshualeadership.org/membership to join this movement. This has been Leading Edge. I want to thank you for joining today.